The first sound was claws on metal. Not the light click-click of a service drone. Not the soft shuffle of boots. Claws, heavy, slow, confident, scraping across a cafeteria floor built to handle spills and stampedes. Cyros 9's cafeteria had seen everything. Diplomats with fragile egos, merchants with hidden blades, brawls over seating rights, and food that looked like it was invented as a punishment. But that morning, the entire room forgot how to breathe. Engineer Nora Vance walked in like she always did, confident, practical, and still slightly grease-streaked from her shift. She moved with the calm of someone who trusted machines more than politics. She grabbed a tray. She smiled at the crowd like nothing mattered. And behind her, two massive shapes padded through the doorway. The cafeteria fell into a silence so sudden it felt artificial. Trays clattered. A spoon hit the floor and rolled for a full 5 seconds. A Zelthian attaché made a sound like steam escaping a pipe. They were cubs. Juveniles. And that meant they were only the size of Earth's biggest predators. 2 tiger cubs, but not the tiny kind you saw in old Earth videos. These were Eden program rescues, muscle dense from low-gravity conditioning, bones reinforced for station life, paws the size of dinner plates. Their eyes glittered like polished amber. Their jaws held layered teeth built for meat, not rations. Their tails didn't swish playfully. They balanced. They measured. They watched. They flanked Nora like bodyguards, positioned, alert, scanning, like the cafeteria was hostile territory and she was the only important person in it. Commander Rook stood up so fast his chair screeched across the floor. Rook was Kryn, tall, armored, with a battle-scar exoskeleton and warning colors that flickered when his instincts woke up. He took one look at the cubs and his entire posture changed. He walked toward Nora the way you walk toward an unexploded device, respectful, slow, and already regretting your life choices. Engineer Nora, Rook said carefully. Those are predator cubs. Yep, Nora replied, like he'd pointed out a sign she hadn't noticed. Rook's warning colors pulsed brighter. Those are Eden tiger cubs. Earth apex juveniles. Their adult classification is highly restricted. Nora scooped protein mash onto her tray and frowned. Still no bacon, huh? One cub yawned. The cafeteria shuddered as its mouth opened, wide enough to show teeth that looked like industrial blades. Several species leaned back instinctively, as if the air itself had become dangerous. Rook lowered his voice. Where did you get them? Maintenance Tunnel C-14, Nora said. Yesterday. Rook froze. You found them in a maintenance tunnel. They were stuck behind a coolant conduit, Nora added, making sad noises. She looked down at them, her expression softening so fast it startled everyone watching. Isn't that right, babies? The 2 cubs rumbled. It was not a roar. It was not a threat. It was a deep, low vibration that made the deck plating hum like a sleeping engine. Rook stared at her. You fed them. Obviously, Nora said. They were hungry. Rook's translator struggled to keep up with his disbelief. What, did you feed them? Nora gestured with her spoon. Emergency protein strips. The real ones. Not this paste. Rook's warning colors flickered, relief, then panic. Engineer Nora, the Tuesday special is processed Keelan sandworm. It is toxic to mammals. Nora blinked. I didn't feed them the Tuesday special. Rook stared. Then why are they here, now, in the cafeteria, like they own it? Nora glanced at the cubs. Both sat down at the same time. Perfectly synchronized. 2 heads lifted. 2 sets of amber eyes locked onto Nora with the intensity of a targeting system. Rook swallowed. They are responding to you. Not commands. Nora said one word, gentle as a lullaby. Manners. She reached into her pocket and pulled out 2 wrapped ration bars, high protein, vitamin fortified, the kind crew used on long repair shifts. She tossed one left. One right. Both cubs snapped them out of the air with precision so clean it looked rehearsed. No hesitation. No snapping at hands. No chaos. Just controlled power. They chewed with surprising restraint. "Good babies," Nora whispered. Rook's colors flashed again. "Those animals are not trained." "They are learning," Nora corrected. Rook leaned closer, voice razor-thin. "Their species has strict station protocol. Any unregistered apex predator must be reported and secured." Nora's face changed, not angry, but stubborn in a way that made grown officers feel tired. "They are babies," she said. "And they miss their mother." Rook tried again. "Protocol dictates." "I'm not keeping them," Nora interrupted, still calm. "I'm looking after them until we locate their handler or contact the Eden transport team. That's it." She scratched behind the nearest cub's ear. The cub leaned into it. Like a house cat. Like a puppy. Like something that could still bite through a blast door if it chose to. The second cub padded toward the serving line, sat down, and stared at the cafeteria staff without blinking. 3 gentry workers froze mid-motion. One clutched a ladle like a weapon. It looked pathetic. The cub's stare never moved. Nora followed its gaze and nodded thoughtfully. "I think he wants a platter." Rook's exoskeleton flared a bright alarm pattern. "Absolutely not." Nora clasped her hands like she was asking for a small favor, not negotiating with a living weapon. "Please." Rook looked at Nora. Then at the cubs. Then at his future career, because he could feel it drifting away like it had just stepped out an airlock without him. He had survived wars, sieges, diplomatic incidents. None of it had prepared him for humans and their talent for adopting the universe. "Fine," Rook said. "But you are responsible for any damage." "Deal," Nora said, bright as daylight. She turned to the frozen staff. "You heard the commander. Platters for the babies. Extra protein. And hydroponic root veggies. Vitamins matter." The gentry moved like their lives depended on it. Because they did. Nora carried her tray to a table near the center of the room. The cubs followed and positioned themselves on either side of her chair. Bodies angled outward. Heads up. Scanning. Guarding her from threats that did not exist. Across the room, a dozen species sat rigid with fear, watching 2 Earth predators act like trained escort units. Rook sat across from Nora with the weight of the station on his shoulders. "How did you do that?" he asked. Nora blinked. "Do what?" "Survive initial contact," Rook said. "Those cubs should fear strangers. They should be reactive. They should be unpredictable." Nora took a bite of mash and chewed like this was all normal. "I talked to them." Rook stared. "And I fed them," she added. Then she paused, as if remembering something small. "Oh. And I treated one." Rook's eyes widened. "You treated an injured apex cub?" "Yeah," Nora said. "He had a gash on his paw. Probably scrap metal in the tunnel." "With your bare hands," Rook said, horrified. "I used a medical kit," Nora replied. "But yes, technically, my hands were involved." A massive platter arrived. Protein strips. Nutrient vegetables. Calcium supplements. A small bowl of fortified broth. The first cub accepted the tray with delicate control, paws careful, claws retracted. It ate slowly. Not aggressive. Focused. Peaceful. The second cub watched, waiting its turn. Patient. Learning. Rook leaned in, voice low. "They are training you." Nora grinned. "I'm training them." "No," Rook said flatly. "They are adapting to station life. Learning routines. Learning that humans will bend rules for them." Nora's grin turned proud, smart and dangerous. "Good." That was when the first rehook hit. Because the cub that had been eating slowly. It lifted its head and scanned the cafeteria. Then it looked at Nora. and it shifted its body slightly, placing itself half a step closer to her chair. Not for food. For position. For protection. A wave of uneasy murmurs moved through the room. Even the ventilation seemed to lower its hum, like the station was listening. The second platter arrived. Both cubs ate peacefully, and the cafeteria, full of species that negotiated with contracts and threats, had to watch two Earth predators choose discipline because one human asked nicely. Nora, for her part, did something even stranger. She pulled out a maintenance tablet. She began reading repair reports. Like she wasn't sitting between two apex cubs that could trigger a station-wide emergency alert. Rook watched her for a long moment, then spoke quietly. What happens when they grow? Nora didn't look up immediately. Then we find their handler before that becomes a problem. And if we can't? Nora finally met his eyes. Her voice softened. Then we don't punish them for being born, she said. We make a plan. Rook stared at her like he was seeing humanity clearly for the first time, terrifying not because it was cruel, but because it was willing to care when caring was inconvenient. A small sound pulled attention. The second cub, done with its platter, stood and padded to Nora's side. It lowered its head and pressed its forehead gently against Nora's boot. A slow, careful push. Not dominance. Not demand. Just contact. Gratitude. The room went quieter than vacuum. Nora's hand lowered without thinking. She scratched behind its ear again. The cub rumbled, content, warm, steady, like a small engine finding its perfect idle. Rook opened his command log. He typed with the stiff posture of a soldier writing a report that would ruin his day. Day 1. 2 Eden tiger cubs entered cafeteria under human escort. Cubs demonstrated synchronization, restraint, and attachment behaviors toward Engineer Nora Vance. Recommend increased food budget for Eden program. Recommend updated cafeteria apex protocol. Recommend therapy for command staff. Recommend never letting humans wander unsupervised near maintenance tunnels again. He stared at the last line for a moment, then added, recommend assigning Nora Vance to any future found cub incidents, as she appears to be uniquely catastrophic. Across the table, Nora didn't notice. She was still humming softly, an old Earth tune, while the cubs ate, breathed, and watched. And Cyros 9's cafeteria silently accepted a new rule of the universe. Apex predators might rule death worlds. But humans feed them. And the cubs follow. But that wasn't the strangest part. Because the next morning, the cubs came back. And this time, they weren't alone.